Uh, Ruthie, get a coffee.
Mm.
But you have sweetener?
I guess.
Okay, and two sugars. Give him 2 teaspoons of sugar there. Okay. The Mishnah. Yeah. Okay. Good morning. We're up to the Mishnah on Yud Beis Amid Beis. The Mishnah on Yud Beis Amid Beis, the second Mishnah. And if this sounds familiar, it's because you're all familiar with it. Kol hatada mechaveroi, koidem es chaveroi. We know this is tada v'shena tada koidem, right? V'cholam mekudish mechaveroi, koidem es chaveroi. Anything that's more mekudish is koidem es chaveroi. We know this by Inyan the Kahanim, the Kiddushtay. Para Mashiach upar. Here's an example of it. I think Para Mashiach upar heida. On them, you have in front two kabbanis: the power of the Kohen Gadol who blew it, or power of Besdin who blew it. Which one goes first? Right? Para Mashiach kohen para heida b'chol ma'asav. So this would be an example of where kedusha comes in first. Minoni mili. How do you know, guys? The din of tada v'shen and tada kohen. This is an amalgamated shaila. That how do you know? In other words, how do you know that on you say would say before Yavai or Hanukkah when you have the three and when Shchodesh falls out the pecking order? How do you know all these things? You know from Kachim, guys. Believe it or not, you know from Kachim. Amar Bayid Amakra Milvad Oilas Haboiker Asher Lo Oilas Hatamid. This is speaking about a Korban Musaf on Shabbos, and it says aside from the Oilas Haboiker Asher Lo Oilas Hatamid. Michti, ksiv oilas haboiker, oilas hatamid lamali. Why do you have to say oilas hatamid? You said oilas haboiker. We know what you're talking about. Sachi kamachmana. Kol atadira kadma. Oilas tamid, less tamid. It's all the time. So it's interesting. We learned the din of kol atad mechaver from. It's a kachim dikadin. We learn it from kachim, but we expand it to all areas. It's a kachim dikadin that we expand to all areas. V'chol mekudesh mechaver who koydem es chaver. Right? The Tanner Bei Rabbi Shmuel. It says b'kidashtoi, l'chol davar shebekdusha, but we say by the kahayin b'kidashtoi, l'chol davar shebekdusha, l'vtoyach rishain, right? He gets the first aliyah, ulevarich rishain by benching, right? Uvelit el mana yafa rishain, and to go ahead, what he gets the when they divide up, you have dividing up food, he would get first. Now, guys, this is halacha by benching. Not every kohen automatically you have to give it to. If you have a big Talmud Chacham there, if you have the kohen is not, it's only when there's shava that he comes first. When it's not shava, there's no din. I had a shaila about a kohen I know he's a Baal Tshuva. It's difficult for him to bench. He's not so ruggle, and so somebody said give him benching. So I said, I don't think so because he's not shava. So and it's so it does come into play very often. More often than not. So be aware of it. It also a nice halacha of a vikidashtoi. If you ever get to shul and there's a kohen, let him walk in the door first. It's a nice, it's a little thing. It's a little thing, but you can get it's a mitzvah vikidashtoi. You let him go in first. And it's a very very good example of it. Okay. Says the Gemara in Amun Aleph. We said par kohen Mashiach goes before par helam dava. Minani mili the Tanra Bonan. Now in the parsha, guys, of Vayikra Dalit, in the parsha of Chatas Panimius, it says first the part of the Kohen Mashiach, then Helam Davar, then Nasi, and then Yachid, right? That's the order. So it says, the key is, it says the power of the Kohen Mashiach first. Par Kohen Mashiach, par Minani Mili, the Tanrabanan. V'saraf Isai, you should go and burn it. This is going on the Helam Davar of the Tzibor. You should burn the Helam Davar of the Tzibor, Ka'ashes Saraf as Pararishain. Like you burnt the pararishain. Ma kamelema harishain, sheharishain koiden leparaeda b'chal ma'asav. That carbon should be what before the paraeda b'chal everything. And what is that carbon, guys? What is that carbon? That is the Kohen Mashiach. So you see in the pasuk itself. Tarabanan par Kohen Mashiach. Another example of this, another raya to it. Tarabanan par Kohen Mashiach par ha'eda. They're both standing in front of you. Par kohen Mashiach kohen l'para eda b'chol ma'asav. Hoil Mashiach mechaper ve'eda mischaperes. Since what the Mashiach is mechaper and the Eilis Mechaperes Dinhu Sheyagdim Mechapel Mischaper. Now, you have the guys. You have the Kohen gets us the kapara. The Kohen, that's what his job is, right? The Kohen does the avoid. The Kohen God Yom Kippur. We are the mischaper. We're the ones who get the kapara. So Mamela, if I have the power of the Kohen Mashiach, I have the power of the Helam David at Tzibur, so the Tzibur needs the mechaper to mischaper. So Mamela, it makes sense to go ahead that the Kohen should go first. Right. No, it's just another reason why the Kohen goes first. We have a pasuk in the Torah, and then we have a shtikla svara. The pasuk says, "V'chiper ba'adoyu ba'beisai v'ad kol Yisrael." It says by the Kohen in Parshas Achrei Mos. It says, what should he do? V'chiper ba'adoyu for himself, uba'ad beisai, and for the other kahanim, uba'ad kol Kadal Yisrael, and for everybody else. So you see that first mischaper and then mischaper. Now, until the Mishnah guys, we can get a whole pecking order of different kabbanis and who comes first. This is very geschmack Gemara. Okay. Now we know that if the tzibah does avodah zarah, they bring two kabbanis, right? They bring what the korban. They bring an oila and a chatas. They bring a par as an oila. They bring a par as an oila and a seir as a chatas. Good. That's what they bring. Okay, so the par is an oil again, as opposed to Helen Dover fellas, as opposed to the Helen Dover, and as opposed to Kohen Mashiach, where the par is a chatas. Over here, the par is going to be what? It's going to be an oila. So now you have the par Helen Dover shel tzibor and the par shel mitzchavim. The par Helen Dover comes first. My timer, hay chatas v'hay oila, geschmack. One's the chatas, one's oila. So azvos, so big deal. And we're going to see a limud that the chatas always comes before the oila. Okay, right. The Tanya, the hikriv es asher. Now, fellas, we saw in oila v'yoyred. This is all geschmack because we're going to be learning kachim soon. We saw the oila v'yoyred. If he's wealthy, he brings a sheep. If he's poor, he brings birds. If he's really dirt poor, then he brings flour. When he brings birds, he brings two. He brings an oila and he brings the chatas. It's very interesting. Why is that? Okay, we'll get to that. Bez Hashem. So the hikriv es asher lechatas v'shoina. What does he bring first when the two birds, guys? He brings the chatas first. And what's it teaching me? If it's telling me the chatas goes first, it says the second one you should bring is an oila kamishpat. So when the second one's an oila, why do you have to tell me the first one's the chatas? I know that. This is a universal source. Every chatas, guys, is, and we have a chatas another, you always bring the chatas first. So it seems to be a pasuk. The kaimelon that filu chatas oiv koidemes la'oilas behema. That filu chatas oiv comes before oilas behema. Here you have a bird which is a less carbon, and you have a chatas. You have an oila which is you have a zaftig ox and a kleinshka fagel. You go ahead. You're going to bring the little fagel first. Why? Because it's a chatas. Now, guys, you might remember that it makes sense to bring the chatas before the oila in svara. In other words, I want to be as clean as possible before I do anything. So what's the chatas going to do? It's going to be mechapa for my averis, yeah? Memela, in svara, I should bring the chatas for the oila. What's this? What do I need this pasuk for? Again, I'm as Kenny would say, ich hab gesindig. I sinned, right? I sinned. And now I have in front of me, I want to bring karbanis. So if I bring the chatas, it takes off my sin. Now I can bring the oila, I'm clean. So why do I need a pasuk to tell me a bit first? So if we came on the achil chatas. Now, in your Gemaras, guys, you should all have a Taisus Harash. On the side of your Gemara, you should have a Taisus Harash. Okay, look at the one that says the kaimelon. The afilu chatas ha'oif kodemes loila sabehema. If you can find it, Baruch, yours is going to be the first wide line. Okay. V'af agav the behema atifa davi min zevach. Even though it's a min zevach, it's a zvachim. It's a more carbon dam carbon than an oif. The lahachi ahani kro yisera. That's what the pasuk helps. Guys, the pasuk gufa is for this din of oif versus behema. Why? Continues the Taisus Rush. The il chatas behema, if it's to teach me chatas behema comes before an oilus behema, holay tzarech kra. I don't need a pasuk. The dam chatas koidel medam oila shehu miratze. Guys, if they're equal, the both command is equal. It makes more sense to bring the chatas, which is miratze, means it makes a bavilling. It makes you more acceptable, right? It makes you more acceptable. So geschmack is anything, fellas. You're right. This pasuk goof is to teach me that the oif comes for the behema because you think it's a zevach. The behema comes first. It's a davar choshev ad ma'od. To tell me that chatas comes first, if they were equal to behemoths, I don't need that. It makes more sense to be meratzeh, to go ahead, like I said, to get rid of that a Kodesh Baruch Hu should find me acceptable. It makes more sense to bring the chatas first. I don't need the pasuk for that. I goofa need the pasuk for this scenario where it's an oif before what? Before the chatas behemoth. Geschmack is anything. Okay. It's unfortunate I discovered the Taisus Rashi, the last blot of the Masech. Like I'm learning this along with these Rashis that I don't even know they're Rashi. I discovered the Taisus Rashi list. Anyway, it's funny. Okay, so therefore you're going to bring the chatas before the oila. Good. Now continuing along, the first wide line. Par avodas kechavim koidim l'seira avodas kechavim. The par of avodah zara comes before the seder avodah zara. Amai haychatas va'oila. Guys, as we said, the communal carbon for avodah zara is a par and a seir. The par is an oila. The seir is a chatas. And I just spent a few minutes teaching you that the chatas comes before the oila. So what's going on over here? So Amri Ma'arav, they said in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei de Rava Bar Mari, chatas avodas kechavim chesera aleph. The pasuk is missing an aleph. If you have psukim, guys, look up on the side. It's Bamidbar Tesvav Chav Dalet. Bamidbar Tesvav Chav Dalet. And it says the following. And this is the parsha we said about Avodah Zarah. Remember, we didn't. But it's talking about Avodah Zarah. We went through this Gemara. So what does it say? V'hoya ime'enia eida nesa b'shgaga v'yasu kol eida par ben baka echad la'oila l'reich nechach l'Hashem u'minchasa b'niskai u'sir zirim echad l'chatas. Chatas is spelled, guys, ches, tes, aleph, saf. There's no aleph. It's chasa. You know why it's chasa? To tell me this is unique. It's chasa. That this is the one chatas is coming after the oila. This is the one. It's yes, Harold.
Just I understand the Gemara is saying makes sense to chatas, but just conceptually, the fact that the ola goes consumed totally for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'll cover Hashem. It should go first. In other words, it's for you, Hashem, the entire.
There's no question. There's no question.
So therefore, that should go before chatas, which is for me, yes, but for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should go first.
Okay, I'll answer you two ways. I'm not disagreeing that the most chashuv carbon is an oila. For sure, it's the most chashuv carbon. But the fact that the chatas comes first, and then you need a pasuk to tell me the chatas comes first, is a raya to that. In other words, if we have a pasuk that they were equal, why would you need a pasuk to teach?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. Okay.
Maskim?
Yeah.
Okay. In addition, there's a svara. In order to bring the oila in its glory, as chashuv as it is, you want the person to be as proper for that. Memela would make sense for the chat. So in other words, I would tell you, I'm answering you both ways. I'm answering you in svara, right? Or I'm answering you in pasuk, right? I think there are two terutzim. Okay?
Yeah, I heard the second first before the first reason. Why you go? Because that's the person's bavilik, He feels
Bavilik, what does that mean?
No, but he feels like it's he feels relieved that he was able to bring the carbon chatus before the as first priority, to relieve himself of the aver he did.
And Hesh, if you brought an Ola and a Shlomim, which one would you bring first? Let's say he came one day with both. You bring the Ola first, right?
Ola first,
like you said. Right.
Yeah. Well, also in addition, Hesh, the Ola over here is a chiyuv. It's not speaking about a neder. It's speaking a net and a dove. It's a chiyuv. The Torah says this is what you have to do. The Torah is calling the shots over here. That's the easiest svara. But again, I think I gave you two terutzim that are wichtig. Okay, anyway, but it's a nice kasha hesh. Okay, weiter. So therefore, since it's chasa, guys, this chatas is unique. That the par, which is an oilo, will be brought before the seer, which is a chatas. Okay. Rava Amar Kamishpat. It says the pasuk says the pasuk says that what? It says Kamishpat. No, that's the way it's written. Kamishpat, guys. It's written the par before the chatas. Mamela Kamishpat. As I state, that's the way it should be. Say Kamishpat could be. Seir avodas kechavim. The seir of avodas zara. Koidel meseir nasi. Okay. So, guys, the seir of avodas zara, which is a chatas, comes before the seir of the nasi. My timer, hay tziba v'yachid. They're both chatas, but one's for the tziba, one's for the individual. The tziba takes precedent. Seir nasi koidel mesiris yachid. Now they're both chatas, right? Remember the nasi. But one thing you remember from this masechta is those the par and the nasi. Okay, so now they're both chatas. My timer, high melech, I had yet the fact that he's a nasi, he's a melech, as we saw in the Mishnah, right? He comes first. Siras yachid koidemis lekivsas yachid. So let's say you have two chatas in front of you, the kayin. One is a goat and one's a sheep. They're both equal. They're both females. They're both chatas, and they're going to tell me that the goat comes first. Aiva Tanya Kivsas Yachid Kodemis the Siras Yachid. If they're both equal chatas of a Yachid, the sheep comes before. So you have conflicting views. Is the sheep first or the goat first? So Amar Abaya says Abaya Tanoihi. It's machlokes Tanoim. Masava Seira Adifa. Mas says that Seir is Adif. Shekain Nisrabasa Eitzel Avoidis Kichavim Biyachid. Guys, we said a Yachid, no matter who it is. That's another this Masechta we're working away with is a Seira, no matter what. Even the Nasi is going to bring a Seira for Avodah Zarah. So maybe that's the chashivas of it versus the sheep, right? That it's a universal Seira, then you're going to bring it. Umasava Kirsa Adifa Kevis is why Shkenis Rabba Ba'alya. We know that the Kevis, that you bring the tail, the back part. Goes Masha'en Kain, there's no din of Aliyah by a goat. So each one has a mile of the other. Oimer koidim lekeves habayimai. The carbon oimer that's accompanied with karbanis. You bring the oimer first on Tezayin. Shtei lechem, which is brought on the Shavuos, is kodemis the kvasim. They come before the two kvasim. Halacha in kachim. These two kvasim are kachim kedoshim, right? They're very unique. They're shlomim that are kachim kedoshim. Haboy miman. Why do they? In other words, why not the animal? First, these are both kind of minchas. They're both flour karbanis. Begin liyaim. Begin lechem. In other words, the oim is bought for the day. Shlechem is bought for the day, and the reason why the karbanis are bought are begin the lechem and the oim. And may look the oim and the shlechem are bought first. Okay, I'll repeat this anytime we come across it. I always say it. The oim matis the chodesh in the Medina. The shtei lechem matis the chodesh in the Beis Hamikdash. The winter wheat you still can't use from the oim is bought from barley, and the shtei lechem is bought from wheat. The lumdis is that from oimer till Matan Torah, right? Barley is the food of an animal. Wheat is the food of Basar V'Dam. We're oila from oimer to shruis, that we're oila, then we're going to go ahead and bring eat food of a Basar V'Dam, not an animal. Regarding providing food and living, a man comes before a woman. He's mechuyev mitzvah. She's not. The man comes first. A woman's busha is more than a man's. Comes to getting what clothing. A woman comes first. We want to get out of prison. You worry about her being violated. You want to get her out quickly. Let's say they're both in a situation of znus, the man mishkav zacha. Then ish kaidin isha, because the isha is normal, but the mishkav zacha is not normal. Says the Gemara. Yes, Nasan.
What do you mean Aveda? If there's two Avedas,
I
they
know
will.
who comes first. The Inyan Hashavas Aveda, right? You have to go. Let's say you find an Aveda, two Avedas. Who do you return first?
Okay.
Tarabanim. Hayehuv Aviv a Rabbi Bishvi. Let's say him, his father, and his Rebbe, they're all in prison. Who koydem the rabbi? He comes before Chayecha koydem. He comes before. Let's say he has funds to get out. Believe it or not, guys, he comes before his Rebbe. For Rabbi koydem la'aviv, as we saw in the Gemara in Elam Mitzias, the father brings you to this world, but the Rebbe brings you to the next world. So the Rebbe comes before the father. Ima koydem is lekulam, and the mother comes before everyone because you want to get her out of a place the chas v'shalom she could be violated. Chacham koydem lemelech. A chacham comes before a melech. Melech Yisrael, Chacham Shemeis Ein Lana Kayatzeba. You know, but there's a saying in English, no one's irreplaceable. It's not true. You see over here, you see from when it comes to a Chacham, there's no replacing a Chacham. Each one is so unique in their own way. Can you replace Rabbi Moshe? You're going to tell me there was Rabbi Yashiv. You still can't replace Rabbi Moshe. Can you replace Rabbi Yashiv? There's Rosh Shlomo Zalman. These are irreplaceable. These are irreplaceable. Each one is unique in their own way. So therefore, a Melech Yisrael is replaceable. Melech Yisrael Shemeis, Kol Yisrael Ru'uyin L'Malchus. Anyone can be the Melech, I guess, if you've Shevet Yehuda. Melech Koydem L'Koyin Gadol. When it comes to the din, again, the din of the Mishnah, to be Poida, Lahachiyais. When it's speaking about Kedima, we're speaking about the din mentioned in the Mishnah. So who would come first, Melech or Koyin Gadol? The Melech comes first, Shnemar. Melech. Okay, I need a second. Give me for a second. Next. Vayom Melech lehem. David says regarding Shlomo, "K'chui mochem es avdei adonechem." Take the evid of your the servants of your master. That's me. V'erkafnem es Shlomo b'ni al apirda. Put him on the mule. Ashali v'arantem Yisrael gichain. And then the pasuk says next. Umashach esay shom tzadik hakayin v'nasan hanavi. So you see that what in this melech, the melech comes first because he's saying Adonechem, I'm your master, and the next pasuk says tzadik before it says navi. So you know that the kohen gadol comes before a navi. So we have the melech before the kohen gadol, and as we're going to see in a second, the kohen gadol before the navi. Vayomer Melech K'chui Mochem Avdei Adonechem Kohen Gadol Kohen L'Navi, as we just said, Shnemar Mashach Esoi Sham Tzadik HaKohen V'nasan Navi V'nasan Hanavi V'nasan Hanavi Hikdim V'nasan Hanavi Hikdim Tzadik L'nasan V'oimer, a second pasuk, Shmano Yeshua HaKohen HaGadol Ata V'Riecha Yochel Hedyois Tamad Leima Ki Anshe Moifes Hema V'Moifes El Navi Shnemar V'nasan Alecha Ois Moifes. So you see from this other pasuk that Yeshua, who is a Kohen Gadol, comes before the Moifis is a Navi. Now, anytime you have a Oimer, you always have the pasuk, the Gemara saying, Ma v'Oimer. What does in other words, why do I need the second pasuk? In other words, guys, this is a rule in Shas. When it says v'Oimer, a second pasuk, it's adding something, meaning, had I just had the first pasuk, I'd have a problem. Therefore, I need the second pasuk to alleviate that problem. What's the problem with the first pasuk that we brought that you need this to alleviate? So for that, I give you the Tosfos Harosh that I just discovered. Crazy. Anyway, look at the Tosfos Harosh. Dibra Maskil v'Oimer. V'Oimer Shmano Yeshua Kohen HaGadol. My v'Oimer. The Gemara doesn't ask it, but the Tosfos Harosh says, Ma v'Oimer. What's the v'Oimer? In other words, you understand the kasha. Why do you need the second pasuk to teach me that the Kohen comes before what? The Navi. V'chi tema shiny tzadik HaKohen. The have mishamesh borim v'tumim. V'have le'kamei Navi. Who is the first raya from, guys? You bring a raya from tzadik. Tzadik was a Kohen, but it's a ben oichel a Navi. Why? Because he uses the urim v'tumim. Since he uses the urim v'tumim, maybe he's greater than the Navi because he's a shtickle Navi. But Yeshua was in the Bayis Sheni. There was no Urim V'Tumim. And the Mela, that's why that's a Geshmak Araya that he comes before the Navi. The first one, Tzaddik, you'd have a Kasha. Maybe a Kohen Gadol that wears the Urim V'Tumim comes before a Navi. But a regular Kohen Gadol that cannot use the Urim V'Tumim, like in the second bias, there wasn't Urim V'Tumim, Efshanat. And that's why, Ulfi Elazar Kohen Yamoid V'Sholah B'Mishpat Urim, Okay. V'Yeshua Navi Hayav. Afil Hachit Tzarech LaOlaza. Aval Kohen Gadol She'ena Mishamish Mum V'Tumim LeOdef Minavi. Tamalayma Shemana Yeshua U'Bay Sheni Have for Poisk U'Um V'Tumim. So very geschmack. The Tosis of Rush guys is answering. You know what the Oim is teaching me? Even if you don't have the U'Um V'Tumim, even if you're not together Navi, you're just a Kohen Gadol, you would come before a Moifes, you would come before a Navi. Okay. Meshuach b'Shem Mishcha Koydel Meruva Begadim. So yesterday you can become a kohen in one or two ways, either through the Shem and Mishcha or through Meruva Begadim. And now you have to be poida, one or the other, or what, or to go ahead and to sustain them. The kohen Meshuach comes first. Meruva Begadim Koydel, and then the Gemara doesn't even have to bring a raya to that. Meruva Begadim Koydel Mashiach Sha'avar Machmas Kiryov. Let's say he was returned. He was puzzled because he was a Balkari, and then he came back. Nonetheless, the Kohen Meshuach comes. Meruva Begadim comes before him. Mashiach she'avar machmas kiryav koydem la'avar machmas mumay, because mumay he's out completely. Machmas kiryav is temporary. This is permanent. Avar machmas mumay koydem Meshuach milchama, and machmas mumay comes is before a Meshuach milchama. Meshuach koydem l'sagan koydem la'amrakel. My Amrakel, Amrav Chisda, Amakula. Amrakel is a nutrition of the words Amakula. If you look at Rashi, Amrakel, Shiva Moina al Kulam, he's the guy in charge. Ve'emei Shivan al Devarav. This is the day when men were men. He told you, that was it. There was no discussion. This is the guy in Shul, who runs the place. That's it. He's not Amrakel. Rashi, back in the Gemara, Amrakel, Koydel Gizbar, Koydel Rosh, Mishmar. There were 24 Mishmarim. Rosh Mishmar, Koydel Rosh Beisav. There was 6 Beisav in each Mishmar. Rosh Beisav, Koydel L'Kohen Hedyet. Iboy Lahu. L'Inyan Tuma, Saganu Meshuach L'Chama, Ezem Koydem. Come across a Meis Mitzvah, guys. You have a Skana Kohen. He's the guy who's going to be in place of the Kohen Gadol if something goes wrong. And you have Meshuach L'Chama. He already was the Nimshach B'Shem and Mishcha. And they're walking along. They see a Meis Mitzvah. We know Kahanim cannot be Metamal Mesim, but it's a mitzvah. They can be Metamal Mitzvah. Even the Kohen Gadol can be Metamal Mitzvah. How do you know that? How do you know that? Who goes first? That's Gemara Shaila. What's it predicated upon? What's the Shaila predicated upon? Mutiv Pogam Hem Beis Mitzvah. Ezemim Koydem. Omamar Zutra Breid Rav Nachman Toshma Detanya Sagana Meshuach Muchama Shahoyim Mahalchim B'derech. Upaga behem meis mitzvah, mutiv sheyitam meshuach mulchama, while yitam is sagan. Better to be metama the meshuach mulchama than the sagan. Shem yirah psul b'kohen gadol nichla sagan u'meshamish tachtav. Fellas, in other words, what's the whole purpose of sagan? He's got to be in the bullpen, right? He's got to be warmed up in the bullpen. If he's not warmed up, he can't come in. So Mamela, the meshuach mulchama will be metama. I have a tanya meshuach mulchama koydem sagan. That's not speaking liyintuma. That's speaking like we've been discussing until now. If you have enough to provide, who comes first? Meshuach will become first. But the liyintuma, the sagan will become first. Guys, are good? Okay, next Mishnah. Koyin koydem leLevi, v'Levi Yisrael leMamzeh, Mamzeh leNesin. The Nesin were the Gevoinim that David was guys on them. They came by the Kal Hashem. They were the people who fooled Yeshua. B'mei Yeshua, they came as dressed up from a distant place, and they were scared because they hadn't left. Right? They hadn't left. Mamzeh leNesin lager, the ger leEved mishuchor. A ger comes before a freed Eved. A Masai b'zman shekulim shavin. As I told you, this is all when they're equal. Avam hoya mamzeh talmud chacham v'koyin gadol ha'aretz. Mamzeh talmud chacham koydem l'koyin gadol ha'aretz. That's it. Torah is the great equalizer, or more. Kohen Gadol Levi Shneimar b'nei Amram Aaron and Moshe. Aaron was placed before Moshe. Vayavdel Aaron like Dishay Kodesh Kodashim. Levi Koydem Yisrael Shneimar be'esahi Hivdel Hashem es Shevet Levi. Right, mitach hakal. Yisrael Koydem leMamzeh shezeh miyuchas v'zein miyuchas. Mamzeh Koydem leNesin shezeh ba mitipa kshera v'zeh ba mitipa psula. The Mamzeh, it's the union that goes ahead of coming together of chayve krisis or Mrs. Bezin that creates a mamzeh. But the zera of the man is tipuk shera. until the union, it's in other words, the outcome of this union is a mamzer. But before, both were kshera. The woman's egg was kosher and the person's zera was kosher. Mashen came in the sin. He comes from ad. He comes from zera psula. The sin koydem lager because they gidol imana b'kedusha v'zela gidol imana because they both come from tipa psula. But at least the sin lived among us and the ger didn't. Ger koydem le'eved meshuchrer zehoy b'chal orav zehoy b'chal orav. Even though the eved was mechuyev mitzvus keisha before he was freed, nonetheless, what or Canaan ever avad milechav Noach's favorite klala that he gave that still is invoked today. The klala of the eved still around today. You can't get out of it. Okay. When is this when they're all equal? So the pasuk says that Torah is yakar. Torah is more precious than pninim. Pninim is referring to the Kohen Gadol. The play on words pninim, panai. He goes panai lefnim. Yakara more Torah. So therefore, the mamza Talmud Chacham is greater than the Kohen Gadol. Amaretz. Tanya B'Shimon Yichayomer. Bedin hu sheyagdim eved meshuchra leger. She said Gadol imana b'kedusha. V'zeh lo gadol imana b'kedusha. Right? The eved meshuchra he's been mechuyev mitzvos keisha. He's living among us, and the ger not. Elazeh hoye b'chal orah. V'zeh lo hoye b'chal orah. That's you see the extent of orah. Shol Talmidim Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Tzaddik. I'm saying ma hakol ratzon lisa giyaris. People run after man giyaris. So in hakol ratzon lisa mechuyeres. What's the difference? Amar zu hoyse b'chal orah. Zu lo hoyse b'chal orah. In other words, an application of what once orah the orah. Avram Avinu guys. Avram Avinu said he didn't want to let Eliezer his Eliezer had a daughter. Can you imagine? Avram knew this daughter. She was Eliezer's daughter, and it would have been the easiest shidduch in the world for Eliezer to marry for Yitzchak to marry the daughter of Eliezer. Would have been the easiest thing in the world. What Avram do? He sent them back. Sent them back from Taram. Why? Because they were. As a matter of fact, the Medrash says, I think I can't quote you verbatim, but basically is that they repeat the whole parsha. The whole parsha is repeated. Of in Chayesara, Eliezer, it spends a lot of time. The Torah, which is always Makatz, spends a lot of time, and in all the whole parsha, Eliezer's name is not mentioned one time. He's the star, and he doesn't get any billing whatsoever. And it says Al Shahoy Mishamshin as Adoinov Be'amuna, but I'm making this up. That part Yoitza Mechlal Orur v'Nichlas L'Chal Baruch. Eliezer. He uniquely, because of the way he was mishamish, he left b'chal orah v'nichlas chal baruch. That made this. Davar acher zu hoyse b'cheska shamar v'zu hoyse b'cheska shamar. You want to marry a woman who was an eved or a giyaris, so good female goyim. There's always chshad that they were busy with znus, but by Eved, what we say, zilale shchichle pritzale. We say that an Eved, they're mufker. Mashenking, the Giyaris is more mishumer. And also, in addition, an Eved is subject to the whims of the master. Mashenking, the Giyaris. So therefore, it would make sense to marry the Giyaris before the Eved. Shalom to me, the Rebbe Elazar. Ma kelev makares koinoi. So now that Talmidim we're asking Rebbe Elazar, so we're going and digressing a little more. Everyone looks very upset that. Ma kelev makares koinoi. Why is the Kelev go ahead and the Kelev knows its master? Guys, you cannot believe it. Unless you had a dog, I never, a dog is a dog. A hunt's a hunt. I grew up, my kid got a dog. My daughter, for good reason, she got a dog. And you see the dog, it's unbelievable. You walk in the door, the dog is jumping on you. It's mamish, like it's crazy. Unless you, listen, I would never get a dog, but I do understand why people do have dogs. He's makras kainai. He knows his place, knows his creator, and his master. The chasol eina makras kainai, and a cat does not. Cats are very finicky. They're not jumping on you. Cats are they stay away. Amalahem says, listen to this, guys. Guys, if you eat food that a mouse ate, it's going to cause shikha. if you eat food that a mouse ate, it's going to cause you to forget. Ha'oichel achbar atzmai alachas kama v'kama. Guys, you know why he forgets his creator? He eats the mouse itself. Madach, a secondary thing that a mouse touches, causes shikha. What about the mouse itself? Memela, the cat does not makres kainai, since it eats mice. Shol Tamidos over lesson. Ma hakol moishlim b'achvarim. Right? Why is everyone moishel over the achvar? No one's big into mice and rats, right? If they shasura, they don't have such gemidas. Maihi, Rava Amar Afilu Amid Beis, Afilu Glima Nitse. Guys, you can't eat clothing, but these mice, what do? They make holes in clothing. Papa Amar Afilu Shufta Mara, guys say. They even gnaw at the wood of a Mara. Okay. Now, the Gemara, since it mentioned mice and forgetfulness, 5 things cause you to forget your learning. That's the one we mentioned. And what a cat ate. You get it's brought down, you should not eat the heart of an animal. Someone is ruggle bezesim, keyword being ruggle and olives. If you go ahead and you drink the water that's left over after a bath, and you go ahead and put one on top of the other. You go ahead and underneath your head, you lie down on your clothing. The 5 things that bring you to limud. Pas pachmin, it's bread that's made with charcoal. The kolshkein pachmin, if the charcoal, make sure it's not hot anymore, right? Even that would go ahead and be good for making learning. You eat a beitzim l'gugeles, it seems like a soft-boiled egg without salt. If you ruggle b'shem and zayis, that's going to be good for remembering. You drink wine and besamim. What's left over if you make dough, the water there. Okay. Haragul b'shem and zayis b'sayler Rabbi Yochanan. Dam Rabbi Yochanan kashem she'azayis mishakeach. Just limud shel shivim shana. Just like eating olives, being ruggle on olives can cause you to forget. Kach shem and zayis meishel limud shel shivim shana. So there's a very fascinating. Reb Chaim used to write svarim at certain times. He has a sefer I have called Siach HaSadeh, and he has a whole pamphlet in there called Sefer Zechronos. It's 2 parts. The first part is things that are good for memory, and the second part is the thing that cause you to forget. So your Rebbe went ahead and brought down the Sefer Zechronos. Guys, I didn't put down the second part, but these are things. This is called the Sefer Zechron, and these are the different things that I'll cause you to remember. Guys, I sent it out. You have it on the chat. So if you ever want to go through it, most people don't have the Sefer. So if you ever want to go through it, I have it over here. And if you want the second half, I can give you that too. But let's go through a few of the things. This is a very Viktig thing. He speaks about the mitzvah to remember, and really, if you don't chazer, it's not a very good thing. All right. Let's go over here. You see, l'chein mitzvah l'shtadel. You see where I have the pointer? Shimon Street, second column. L'chein mitzvah l'shtadel. L'chein mitzvah l'shtadel b'chol koichai shlei shakeach talmudai. You should work with all your power not to forget your learning. Commercial kasav b'sifri ekev. Ki em shama tishmeru magen akasav shekashem she'adam tzarich lizar b'salai shlei yavad. You make sure that what you don't lose your money. Kachi adam tzarich lizar b'talmudai. You have to be careful with your talmud shlei yavad. Ube'erevin nun gimel on the beis. In erevin nun gimel on the beis. Asamay adon l'Torah. What does that mean? V'hainu dam Rabbi Avdimi. In b'shemayim if Torah is in shemayim, at the tzorich lalois achrecha. Pirish Rashi, the tzorich l'troyach u'lahamid simonim. You have to go ahead and make ways, simonim, u'lahorim, v'takbulois, and tricks. Kedei shetiskayim ha'Torah b'limudeha ad kan l'shoinai. So it's a mitzvah to go ahead and remember your Torah and do everything in your power to remember your Torah. Okay, so this is the opening. Ulchein Roisi says of Chaim, Ki toiv leslev kol advarim shem muvarim b'chazal shetoivim l'sikarin. I thought it's good to mention everything in Chazal that's good for memory. V'gam kol advarim shekoshem l'shikcha, and things that's going to cause you to forget. Sheyadu hal chamidim l'zorba, that you should be careful. V'agav nevara kama protim b'zeh b'siyata d'shmaya. Okay, so I'm going to just go through, guys. Look at each one. He has Ganze Torah, but let's just go through the list. Tefillah. He brings the Gemara. Okay, so I'm going through just the first opening line. Aleph, Tefillah is good. 2, Yerushalayim, and he brings the source for all of these. Gimel, Anava. Dalid, Miyut Tanug, not having so much enough in this world. Hey, Shkeda v'Chazara, delving into and Chazarin. And he has a big source for that. Look at that. Vav, lahoitzi b'peh v'lumul kol ram. You should go ahead and learn out loud and be moitzi b'kol ram. Zayin, to understand lahevim mashalamad. Ches, lachadesh kedushim. Tes, lilmoid meiravecha, to learn from one Rabbi. Yud, lilmoid b'tzina, to, alone in a quiet place when no one's around, I guess. Lilmoidim talmidim. Lilmoid bebeis hakneses, lilmoid b'toich hasefer, lasoi simonim, to make simonim, tesvav, harogel b'pashachris, and harogel pashachris, that you should go ahead and eat breakfast. Ha'oichel pas b'chomim, we just saw the Gemara, right? Pas that's made from charcoal. Ha'oichel pas afia kol tzorche, the bread should be fully baked. Ha'oichel beitzim b'ugeles, we just saw b'lei melach, we just saw that. Harogel b'shem and zayis, we saw that. Haragel b'yayim b'samim, we saw that. Notice Horayos Yud Gimel Yud Gimel. Hashoyis Mayim shel Shiori Isa Horayos Yud Gimel. Chav Beis Hatoivel Etzbay B'Melach V'Oichel Horayos Yud Gimel. That's 22. And 23. Hamistakel b'fnei Tzadik, looking to the face of a Tzadik. Hamachzik Atzmai Shikron. Loimer Ava Rabba. Ad Ava, should say Ava Rabba. I guess with a lot of kavanah. Loima b'nei Rapapa Achasiyum. When after Rami Papa Rachapa Papa, you say all those names. Girsa the Yankusa, whatever. This is a little too. Unfortunately, my Girsa the Yankusa has nothing to do with Torah. Whatever you learn when you're young, and Hanizu shlei laharer divrei Torah b'makom she'as lahara b'tach b'tefillah. You shouldn't think in learning in the middle of davening. Somebody Rabbi once told me, that was his shter. But guys, this is the Sefer Zikaron. What have to remember? There's a whole second part about what you shouldn't do. That things that are kosher l'shikha, but it's classic Rav Chaim, who would take an inyan and bring in every single source. As you saw, every single one of these has. So I have it out there. Again, anytime you want to look at it, guys, it's there on the chat. You can look at it and spend time doing it. I think it's a geschmacka thing. So this based upon a lot of it based upon this Gemara and through other sources in Shas. Okay, let's go weiter. So ruggle b'mayim b'samim. He said a person that's ruggle in yayin and b'samim. Misaylei l'rava damarava chamra v'reichani pikchin. The way you have wine and you have smell, it makes you smart. V'atovel etzboy b'melach amareish lakish uba'achas and with one finger. Kitanoi. Rabbi Yehuda Oima achas v'leishtayim. Take it with your one finger and put it in, and not two fingers. Rabbi Yossi Oima shtayim v'leishalish. 2 fingers and not 3 fingers. Simunecha is kamitza, and the simon is kamitza. Guys, look here. Guys, this is the kaimitz. Look at my fingers. This is the kaimitz. This is the zeres. Put down the kaimitz. What do you have? 1 on one side and 2 on the other side. So it's a mnemonic. This is very good for memory. It's mnemonic 1 and 2 rather than 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. So you put down the kaimitz. It's 1 on one side and 2 on the other side. Asar devarim koshem l'limud. These are 10 things that are kosher l'limud. If you walk underneath the halter of a camel, the kol shkein tachas gamel atzmai, the camel itself. If you walk between two camels. I guess that's why the Arabs don't remember their place, right? They don't remember. Nasin, you heard this? Walking between two women. I'm telling you, this is the hardest thing in girls' chinuch. The hardest thing. I used to walk down the hallways. The girls would be sitting on both sides, singing on the floor. It was like Kriyas Yamsuf the other way.
I always walked against the wall, and they all had to move.
Yeah,
That's
but again, I would have the girls sitting on the floor singing, right? So the first thing was they would stop singing. Then you'd see the funniest thing. All of them would like shuckle over, like, and you're walking on the wall. Right? If a woman walks between two nashim, guys, the more if a nida walks between two men, she'll kill him. She'll kill one of them. That's why the Gemara tells us that Esther was pierced from a nida. She was wanted to kill what Achashverosh and Mama by walking between both of them. So I think it's a gra. V'oivi tachas reach rosh al nefela, v'oivi tachas hageshesh le'ovdu tachtov mayim mem yoim. Yeah, it has some 40 days that hasn't pierced, that water passed underneath it, you walk underneath it. V'oichel pashlei bishul kol tzorchei, bread that's not fully cooked, baked. V'oichel basa muzuhama, and you eat greasy meat, muzuhama listaroin. I guess on the spoon, it's greasy. V'hashoisa mamis hamayim hoiveres bebeis hakvaris. Let's say you have a canal that goes to a cemetery, that you drink that water, it's going to cause you to go ahead and forget. V'hamistakel b'fnei hameis. Mistakel means steering. To look at the mace is one thing. That you could do. Mistakel, you can't. The mistakel, then it's kosher l'shikha. V'yesh oimim af ha'koyre ksav shal gabi ha'kever. Even reading the kasav, that's what on top of the kever is kosher l'shikha. So here I brought in Rav Chaim. This piece I brought in. Look, if you look it up, Shimon Ayin. Okay, this is the kosher l'shikha part. Hey, give it to me. Okay. I know. Okay. I'm doing it for you. I have it over here. Okay. So now, you see anything? No, you don't see anything, right? You saw something? Okay, not what I wanted. Okay, guys. This is the part that's kosher l'shikha, okay? So now, hakoyra ksav shalakever, Horayos Yud Beis, Umuva b'Mishnah Brura Simin Beis Sifkat and Beis. It's mamish brought in the Mishnah Brura right in the beginning of Ubeseifa Nogid Umitzvah Kasa b'Shem Arizal. Again, Rav Chaim had this svarim that only he knew about. Shalei Amru Ela B'Ksav Boiletes. When does it say it's kosher l'shikha? If it's Ksav is 3D and it's protruding, V'loy shekas, but it's not recessed. So if it's recessed, then it's not a problem. If it's boilet, it's a problem. The ayin gittin chafam mit beis. V'tzarich iyan im eina loy boiletes v'loy shekas. Let's say it's neither. Let's say it's just written on the stone. Mahu ubeseifa Yosef oimitz. Me'agoyin Rav Yusfa Zal hamuva bebach hilchas miyun. Amid reish ayin gimel kasav. Listen to this, guys. V'roisi medagdikin the menichem even al gabe hamatzeva. I found that people are medagdik when they go to a keva to put a stone on the matzeva. V'oimrim shemoyel shleitehei kriasa kasha l'talmud. The reason you do it is that in case you went ahead and read it, and that's going to make you forget, it seems putting the stone on top is mevatlet. Guys, you're always wondering why you put the stone on it. This is so geschmack. The reason you put the stone on it is what? If you read it, it might be kosher l'shichsha. Maybe this is a Kabbalah we have from the previous generations. Nearly litzarev shtei asfaris yachad. Shebeksav shalonu hashakeya yesh lilmoid al anachas even kein nearly akam l'shainoi. Now that okay. V'yesh l'dakdim daf l'koyer bepiv or yafili b'staklis. Okay, but it's just fascinating. A source, finally a source for something you do all the time, and you have no idea in the world why you do it. Now perhaps it's a geschmack as anything. Again, this is in the second half of the chelik. I think I'm going to put this together and send that also, so people should have it. Okay.